Hey guys, welcome to another voiceover tutorial. My name is Sakimi-chan, and for this term's voiceover tutorial, I will be doing a updated voiceover tutorial on dynamic lighting. And I'm gonna be as detailed as I can, and I will be incorporating references. So I did take a few reference picture of trying to figure out what it's called, of my grabbing box, my I'm trying to find the name for this. It is called the Feesin. Okay, hold on guys. So I'm gonna type it right here for you guys in case you guys want to go check it out. So it is called the Feesin. So that's the name for it. So Feesin is like a movable doll that you can pose and stuff, and I find it quite useful actually. I purchased one just to test it out because an artist I follow use it and they recommended it, so I went ahead and bought it, and you know what, it's really helpful and it's way better than any of the action figure that you can pose for reference. This one I think is the best one, and it's very lifelike, and it's made out of silicone type material, and the joints are just so nicely done. So I did buy this on Amazon. If you Google it, you will be able to find it there. It is on the pricier side, but I think it's worth it. It's around 140 or 130, $140 Canadian. In USD should be 110 maybe. And the head I had purchased separately via eBay, and I basically just searched Feesin head and I purchased one of the heads. The heads is a bit more affordable, although not by much. So the head costed me around maybe $30 to $40 USD, and I feel like, you know what, you guys, if you just want the head, you can also do that, but I purchased both. But yes, I used this doll to help. Well, I took pictures of this doll for reference sake, and I wanted to show you guys that recently I've been using a lot more reference, and this being one of them, and I will show you guys how helpful it is. So I'm just going to do the lighting tutorial based on the reference, and of course this will speed up the process of putting down shadow and highlight, because you know, we're not having to go ahead and pick the color, to kind of just determine the shadow light source by ourselves, and having a reference next to you really helps. So yes, let's get started. So basically, I feel like I'm gonna be doing a few lighting variations. So this one I took, I feel like this is the most plain looking lighting, pretty basic. Everything is pretty much lit up. It's not super dynamic, but I thought we'd start there because we are going to be doing more and more dynamic shadows later on. But we need to establish a basic base first, and I feel like this is a perfect reference for that. And so I am pretty much following where the light source is coming from, and I'm just using the reference to help me establish where the basic shadow should be. So as always, for skin tones, usually stay within a few shades darker for the shadow, and the idea is to layer on the shadow as well. So we're gonna observe the reference. As you can see, there's a nice contour going on, as you can see, And based on the reference, this is in more realistic lighting, you can see that the skin tone varies quite a bit. So this is a bit duller, actually. And then we have a bit more yellow on the face and a bit more beigeier down here. So realistically, definitely need a variety of tones, not just on a single spectrum. So basically, I use this color picker, and usually we want to vary it quite a bit throughout here, and even a bit of green too. But since I'm gonna try to stick to the reference, we're just going to kind of stay within the reference. And the good thing about having a reference is sometimes you can just basically color pick the reference, and if you do enough of this, you will kind of retain a bit of that information. At least that's what I figured for myself. I would guess when I was learning, I would use reference to color pick only. And by doing a lot of that, I've done that enough times where I didn't need a reference anymore to color pick. But then afterwards, I went back to using reference, which is now. So I feel like reference definitely helps a lot. No matter how good you are, I'm not there yet, but no matter how good you are, I've seen very, very good artists still use reference. So you can never say no to reference as an artist is what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's go ahead and select a bit of the color here, and as always, we're following along the reference. And at the same time, while I'm doing this, I'm trying to figure out why that is, why is the shadow there, and stuff like that. So we always have to kind of think like that so that we can retain the information without always having to use reference, even though it's always helpful to. But I try to kind of observe and try to question why that is. And also, as you can see, I can totally see the shadow, and that is super focused on this one side, and that is the light source pretty much. And so I will retain that information for the next time maybe I don't have reference. So yeah, and we're just gonna do the hair real quick. So I did choose to use 2B as our test subject because she has a very clean-cut, simple design, but yet very appealing. So yeah, I thought it'd be a bit faster to use her because her hair is quite short, and white hair is I feel like one of the easier hair color to paint. Actually, is it? I forgot what oh no, wait, no, scratch that. Black hair and dark hair are easier to paint than white hair. White hair is a little tricky. It's the opposite. But however, I am starting to put basic highlight and shadow into the hair, starting off with the base color. As always, base colors I recommend should be always an in-between color, not too dark, not too light. That way you can stack on the shadow and stack on the highlight afterwards. Usually I prefer to work on the highlights last because when it comes to hair, I prefer to use the lasso tool and really establish the clumps of hair as I am doing so right now. And we're just going to establish another clump of hair there and underneath that clump like that. And we're just going to use the lasso tool real quick to quickly put on her little bandana slash blindfold that is draping on the side here, and I am using lasso tool slash the airbrush tool for fast, to do it fast. So I had in mind her design. I kind of want to see if I can make her outfit a little bit like transparent, I guess, in a way. Or maybe I can make it glossy. I'm going to go ahead and color her arms dark like her design. But I want to leave this part like quite transparent. Kind of want to see how that goes. I'm gonna add a little detail, bit of sci-fi detail here and there. And then going for the eyes. So I feel like the face warrants its own reference. This is more of a general reference that I took. Oops. The face, I feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know why it's doing that. The face definitely needs its own reference. Usually I would look up a reference for the face in particular. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of make this a bit smaller and really have it right next to her face, which is what I prefer. I find it a lot easier to look back and forth. And we're just going to color it whites of the eyes. The lips will be slightly different color. And of course, I'm gonna go ahead and start coloring in the face. So face structure wise, it's not very similar. However, I'm still gonna be looking at the shadow formation and then painting it down very subtly, very gently with the airbrush to kind of just establish the shape. And I'm gonna try to make sure the shadow for the nose is not too dark. And usually for shadow on the face, especially the nose, the eyes, and the lips, underneath the lips, the shadow, I try to keep it sort of like a warmer tone, or a tone that is saturated but darker than the skin tone. So in this case, her skin tone is beige, so that means it's gonna be like a warmer, deeper shade. If it's blue, then it will probably be like purple, darker purple shade. And at the same time, it's going to kind of put down the shadow for the hair. Have a bit of it. Actually, no, we're not gonna put the shadow there. Yes, like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and align the eyes. I'm gonna go ahead and give her pretty blue eyes. Just picked a random blue color that might change later on. I'm going to contour it and then add that blue in. You can also use the blue as a bit of a shadow for the whites of the eyes. Select a bit of that pink to put in our lid. Separation. And then, so we're gonna go ahead and work on the line art. I am still using lines to help me guide, and right here on the face, it is ideal to make sure the lines are not that strong, because usually when we paint, it is very distracting, the lines. So I prefer to keep them on the low opacity side. And now looking closely, let me zoom in now. Looking closely, we have to keep shading the nose, and I have a suspicion that I should be adding in shadow on that side. As you can see, there is a bit of shadow there, and by observing I can apply the principle of it onto my own facial design, I guess. It's not gonna be the same, but we are using that information, and I am just picking colors and basically just putting them onto our design. And as I look carefully, actually, you can see that there is a dark shadow. Wow, this shadow is super warm. So, darker shadow here, but then at the very edge you can see there's a little bit of light highlight inside the shadow, and then once after that there is a very, very dark, strong shadow that contours the whole face. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and I've done this before, but if I didn't know about this, I would retain the information and then apply it to any of my future pieces that resembles this one pretty much. And I'm just going to apply that, and we're going to also go ahead, pretty much do the same for the shoulder and throughout the whole character. I'm gonna go ahead and add that shadow there. And it is actually quite dark here. I'm gonna go ahead again, apply a bit more shadow there. As I can see, the shadow for the shoulder is quite dark, and then the chest is being contoured like that, and I can just test it out, see if it goes. And I'm just gonna continue with that. As you can see, it's starting to get there. I think that the eyes need to be a bit less colorful. So another thing I like to do is I'm gonna go ahead, select this area of the eye, and we're gonna go to bright contrast, lower the brightness, which adds a bit more shadow to the eyes and gives the character a more sultry look, and it will be a little bit more natural. At least for my own taste, I prefer the eyes to be like a little bit closed and not wide open. And I selected a bit of the hair, and I'm gonna do the same thing. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and give her that hairband real quick. Probably need to refine this a bit after. But yes, now zooming closer, I'm going to go ahead and line the lips, and I'm gonna work on the lips a bit. So lips is another different story, let's just say, depending on if the character is wearing any makeup. That will definitely determine how to render the lips, how glossy it is, and stuff like that. So here it's quite glossy, but I'm gonna go for a matte finish. I'm gonna go ahead and contour the bottom lip with a bit of shadow to give pout, and then again on top. Let's see if it works. I'm just going to kind of blend the color of the lips into the skin tone, so it's not a super big divide. And of course, I'm gonna go ahead and blend in the chin too. Gonna also work on that nose. Add another nostril there. Let's see, yes, like that. Actually, maybe I change the shape of the nose. So I'm gonna play around with the nose shape. And I'm going to apply shadow that gradually blends into the face. And I'm gonna go ahead, adding a bit of shadow underneath the eyes, and add a bit of a blush. And then I'm gonna add a bit of shadow and I'm going to actually trying to see if I can change the skin tone a bit, but let's do this first. I'm gonna just do a little step here, put that here, and I'm just gonna keep working at it. Basically, step one, put that underneath here. Okay, so basically I'm gonna not look at the reference for now, and I will be doing a bit of my own rendering pretty much. And also don't forget to rotate your images once in a while just to make sure you're on the right track. But yes, I'm gonna zoom into the face. Recently I've been working on the face a bit more and then working on the body. Usually I will work on the body first and then the face, but now I've been doing the face a bit earlier because I've been using references, and it's been helping me make sure the face is okay pretty much. Just going to refine the nose a bit more, and I will be introducing a bit of gray tone into the skin because I find the skin tone a little bit too saturated, and realistically I want the skin to feel fleshy, and in order to do that it needs to be a little bit dull, and so afterwards you can add on color that way. I'm just going to extend the shadow down and work on the chest a bit more. I'm going to use the lasso tool once again and pretty much just work from whatever I have gained from referencing the reference, and then afterwards I will be doing my own little thing, but pretty much retaining the basic of what's going on in the reference. But because I've been doing this quite a bit, it is a little bit easier for me to just fill in the blanks. So I'm just doing that. However, if you are having trouble with lighting and shadow, definitely use a reference. It's okay if you use all of the reference and if you use multiple reference. I oftentimes use many references, and that's why the lighting my pieces, sometimes, you know, sometimes it doesn't make too much sense because I have multiple references. However, I feel like it looks good that way, and so I let it go. But yes, definitely, if you are having trouble, do not hesitate to use reference. I'm just gonna keep repeating it. And I'm gonna go right here. I'm going to slightly make it a little darker here, make it a little sharper here, and add a bit of shadow there too. I want her to be like a doll, a skeleton doll vibe. As you can see. And gotta work on that neck. So what I'll do is I'm gonna extend the shadow all the way down here, although it is not shown on the reference, but I've seen this type of lighting in necks and I will be using that. I'm going to extend a bit of the highlight into the shadow like that, so you can see. I'm going to add a bit of shadow there and isolate the collarbone to add some shadow, and then down here add a bit of shadow right here. I really want her clavicle to show, and there is a little bit of a shadow there with a bit of it is like kind of popping out like this. I'm just exaggerating it, like typically you wouldn't see this, but I'm exaggerating it a bit. And so we would have the shadow here, and then highlight here to catch the other tendon of the neck. And I'm going to go ahead and use a bit of shadow, extend it downwards to really emphasize on that the cleavage. Yes. So this sort of thing, this I learned from another reference by looking at like very toned, skinny like chest. You can definitely see this type of definition in there. It's kind of hard to explain, but yes, this is. Ever since I did this, I was like, ooh, it looks good. I'm just gonna keep doing it. And that's why now I just keep doing it pretty much. Okay, I might have to modify it a bit afterwards because she's looking maybe a bit too skinny. I'm gonna have to edit that later on. But for now, I want to add decorative design, so I'm just gonna line it with a dark color like that, and have a bit of highlight going like this. So I want to make the render look like as if it's transparent, and I'm just using the highlight skin tone to add a rim to the edge of the design here. Add a little bit of sci-fi detailing. Add a little bit of detailing here. I'm also going to use the lasso tool and just going to bring up a bit more shadow here. And then what I'll do is gonna go ahead and also align the design out like this, and I will be again adding in highlight surrounding the dark borders. And then we're gonna try to, well, I'm gonna try to Actually, let me see if I can do a little fancy design. Just adding in some more, actually maybe it should be going down. So I'm gonna do a little detailing here. Get the sci-fi shape going. Like that, and really make it obvious pretty much. I'm gonna use the shadow and highlight the clavicle again. Like that. And we're just gonna do like those naked robot. Think of it as a naked robot without the nipple, without the color of it. And also I'm gonna go ahead and line this part. So this part I wanted to do something similar to A2, but a little bit more subtle. But still kind of the same. I'm gonna go ahead, add a little bit of highlight here, like as if it's tucked right in there. And I'm just going to add a bit of highlight. Like that. Let's see what else. I might change up the... Let me change up the hair a bit. I have to refine the hair a bit more. Alright guys, I'm going to flip it back again and pretty much work on it a bit more. So I'm gonna try to get this done so that we have a base to work with, and then I will show you guys how I would go about kind of modifying the lighting, and then you can pretty much get a feel of what the way is that I will show you guys how to play around with lighting. And from there on, I would say that's the way to kind of just test out different lighting without redoing the whole piece. And I usually do this a couple of times, and I do this often, so I get plenty of practice. However, it helps, but there's still a lot to learn. So yeah, I'm just gonna try to get through this and finish rendering this out. Just gonna go ahead, apply a bit of shadow, a bit more shadow onto the hair. A pretty neutral shadow. There's nothing too surprising about it. It is pretty much 2 shades or 3 shades darker than the base color. There's no change in color tones yet, so we'll be doing that right now. So usually with light color hair, I prefer to add a bit of, you know, the opposite color to the hair color, I mean the opposite tone, so a warm tone. And I'm just going to apply a bit more shadow right, kind of tucked right beneath that hair clump. Just gonna darken that up a bit more. I'm gonna add a little bit of that skin tone again inside the dark of the inside the shadow, the hair shadow. I'm going to zoom in. Actually, what I'll do is copy the liner for the eyes, copy, and I'm gonna paste it there so that I can make sure the eyes is quite dark, but then we can play around with the lips. So what I'll do for the face is I'm gonna bring the tone down here and make it dull, and then I'm gonna apply that onto the face. I'm going to also select a darker color to contour the face with. Alright guys, so I had to pull up a reference for the face so that I can have a guide, because I wasn't really feeling the face I have right here, so when I'm feeling uncomfortable and unsure, I usually try to look for a reference. So yeah, we got a reference now. I'm gonna be working through the face, and there won't be too much talking, as usually for the face I like to use the airbrush because it's nice and soft and it's not super harsh and I can blend it out quickly. And so if it gets too soft, sometimes always using airbrush do tend to look too soft, so I would go in with the lasso tool and then start refining. But for now, going with the lasso tool, going with the airbrush pretty much fully. Gonna add a bit of teeth with the gray color. And gonna go ahead and work on that face. I want to make it like I have a vibe I want to go for, kind of like Final Fantasy, but a little bit Korean style at the same time. So yeah, I'm going to make sure that I do the eyes properly, and we're gonna zoom in here. I've been adding some eye bags to my character recently. I think it makes the character look better, prettier, I guess. Anyways, I decided to do this. Change my style on the eyes. Like before, I never used to add eye bags, but now I kind of like the eye bag look. Okay. And I'm going to actually darken the whites of the eyes. And alright. And I might have to change the shape of the eyes. So what I do, I'm going to kind of bring down the eye shape a bit to make it a little droopier. I've been digging the droopy eye look lately. Before I used to always like aim my eye shape upwards, but now I kind of like the droopy look. And it's going to kind of make the eyelids a bit more. Excuse me, I just sneezed. I had to stop the recording there, but yes, just kind of changing the eye shape a bit. Also, we can use the the warp tool to do a faster job at this. I'm going to extend the eyebrows a bit. I'm gonna kind of use the dark color and then use a lighter color later. Like that. And it's going to edit the mouth a bit. I'm also going to copy paste this part and then warp it a little bit, change the shape of the lips a bit more. So this is, I'll show you guys before, after. I'm going to actually like move it around a bit, and it's going to darken the nose bridge a bit more. And then just kind of changing the eyeball here, make it a little bit smaller. And I will be adding a bit more shadow there underneath the brows, so that she could have a very high nose bridge, very European looking. And add a bit of definition to the nose here. Gonna add some shadow there and a bit more shadow there too under the nostrils, and contour the bottom of the nose. Gonna add a little bit of highlight there. I'm gonna select a bit of a darker color and kind of just place that beneath the eye. I'm just going to kind of darken that a bit more. And a bit more shadow on the eyelid. Zoom in a bit. Going to add a bit more shadow there. So what I'm doing is pretty much trying to sculpt out the eye area, the eye socket. I'm going to use the lasso tool so that I can paint a bit of skin tone there to help expose that skin tone. And add a bit of highlight there and shadow on the cheek area. Just going to extend this down a bit. I'm going to slightly modify the chin shape, make it a bit bigger. Just going to go ahead and paint back that shadow on the chin with the highlight in there. I'm going to extend this a bit. Actually, I might need to paint over, extend this part a bit. Right now everything's locked into the shape right here, so it's hard to change. But yes, this is what we have, and I think it's getting there. I'm gonna keep adding just a smudge of shadow around the face, not too much because it can make her look sunken in if there's too much shadow. Just gonna select that side and add a very small bit of shadow on the other side, and I'm just going to blur that in. Zoom in. Going to add a slightly warmer tone. Just kind of fill that in, shade that in. Okay, zoom in now. Work on the eyes a bit. So work on the lower eyelid first, and then add a bit of highlight to the eye bags. And just going to actually bring this up a bit. So I copy paste it and I'm just gonna bring it up. Just kind of making the shape of the eyes a bit more prominent. And then we have the eyelashes, which is my favorite thing to draw because it contours the eyes. Just doing some small ones and then some big ones up here. I'm gonna go ahead and select a slightly warmer shade and slightly darker shade to put on the eyelid. Try to blend in the eyes. Okay, and then I just kind of darken the under part of the eyeball. Let me just put that there. I'm trying to make sure that her eyes are not looking too weird. I have to probably bring this over. Actually, no. I'm going to bring this over here, make it slightly bigger, and edit that a bit. Add in the eyelashes again. Just gonna paint that back. Paint in the eyebrows a bit, and then we're gonna paint over the eyebrows with the hair later. Just kind of jumping back and forth onto the eyes, kind of just adding detail to where it needs it. Use a bit of this fleshy color and add it on the inside here, like that. Add a bit of rosiness to that area. And I'm gonna just see if I can make it nice and droopy. But in a good way. I'm just gonna add a bit more shadow on the eyes. And then now for the lips. Add a bit of definition for the I forgot what this is called, but yes, this thing near the lips. And I'm gonna add a bit of shadow contouring the lips, which makes a pouty look. First the lines, so I've seen this in some of the lip tutorials, just kind of making those lines. And I'm just going to extend the shadow a bit more over here. Using a bigger airbrush, I'm going to try to cover a bit more space. Add a little bit of blush to the cheeks. And I can use the lasso tool to help me kind of do a quick detail on the hair. So I'm doing shadow and then highlight, shadow and highlight. but I'm always sort of keeping the shadow on this side and the highlight on this side. That. I'm just going to keep going, keep refining the hair. And let me do a little hair strands, just overlapping those. A little bit of shadow there. Inverse, so select the opposite and add a little bit of shadow beneath this strand of hair. Add a little shadow underneath that strand of hair. And then just kind of add that. And just kind of add some smaller detail, extend that shape downwards. And it's good that this part is already dark, so I can just use highlight to give a bit of silhouette to this batch of hair, and it'll make the hair look a lot more hair-like. So yeah. Let's merge down. So before, after. Maybe I can like make this a little bigger. Actually, I feel like this eye needs to be a bit brighter because this eye is brighter than this one. So I have to make that one a little brighter, just tweak it a bit using the color filter. So this is before, after. I'm just gonna flip it over, just have a look. See? Okay, this eye might be a little bit too droopy. What I'll do, also this eye is bigger than this eye, so I'll copy, shift copy, and control shift V to paste. And I am going to go ahead and try to make sure the shape for the eyes is kind of even, pretty much. Like that. And also make the lips too. I'm just trying to make it a little bigger. This is before, after, just a little more realistic, pretty much. Yeah, it's a little bit more realistic. I can always, I usually like to do this, just copy a version, previous version, overlay it on the current version. If I'm not super happy with the new version, I usually try to incorporate a bit of the older version in as well. Going to select the bottom eyelid, bring it up a bit. And actually, no, it's fine. Let's see. What I'll do is copy the old eye, paste it onto the new eye, and just have a in-between version of that. Just going to darken this a bit. Kinda like that. Merge down. And I'm going to make this eye a bit smaller. Also, darken Gonna darken this eye at least. And a bit of shadow there. Before, after. I'm just gonna lighten it slightly. Actually, let me go back to what I had before. I'll just keep it like that. So, this is what we have now. This is now before. So what I'll do is I'm gonna actually start by sort of removing the line art pretty much at this phase. Just gonna merge everything down, and then with that out of the way, I can now kind of edit the head a bit. I'm just going to move it up like this. Position it a bit better, pretty much. Actually, maybe I should move the whole head. I'm just going to have the head on a separate layer for now. And just kind of move it around until I'm sort of happy with where it's placed. Onto the body, I'm gonna do a bit of modifying, kind of just making everything a little thicker, pretty much. See if this will, yeah, just a little thicker. And this is what we're gonna be working with. Alright. Now I'm gonna try to render this out a bit, the chest area. Gonna zoom in, and since everything is in one layer, no more line art, I'm just gonna start using the airbrush, the lasso tool a bit more to help me isolate, and so I can render it out a bit better. Pretty much just going around with the lasso tool and kind of just basically smoothing everything out. Cleaning stuff at the same time. I'm going to use the bright color to help me create this nice shiny look. I'm going to use a bit of bright color here to help me add that sheen. Some here too. Actually, we go ahead and use that, and we're gonna do the same here. And using the lasso tool to help me kind of select some of these areas to put shine on. Need some here, so I'm trying to stick to the areas that is already in highlight and just applying a even stronger highlight in those areas. A bit of it here, some of it here. So I am experimenting with the shape, so I'm doing like circular shape like this with a hollow area here. I feel like that creates like a super shiny look. And same with here. Here's another hollow and shiny area, and I'm going to select beneath this area right here, and we're gonna apply a bit of shadow using basically the same concept, except it's dark instead of bright. And I'm just going to add another one here, make it a nice a darker shade. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to achieve like a plasticky, shiny finish, like a fresh out of the factory robot look. And I'm not really sure about where to place highlight / shadow, but I have a basic formula, which is putting this type of pattern into highlight / shadow with the color that they're supposed to have. So what I mean by that is highlight, this type of pattern in highlight, and similar pattern in shadow but with a darker color. That's what I meant by that. And at the same time, I'm gonna go ahead and do some free hand rendering. Kind of like that. Let me do that. And what I'll also do is select this area, and I'm going to use multiply, lock that down, and then just kind of darken this area, kind of like a gradient. And basically I'm going to try to do the same thing here. Let me see if I can actually here. Let's see if I can achieve this. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually no, I won't do it. Now I'm going to deselect, and I'm gonna see if it would work if I do the same. Nah. Let me see if I can do the gradient. And let's do here. Just going to contour this area with a dark color. I kind of want to design this to be a little different than my usual 2B designs. Okay, so we have that. And I'm just going to blur this. Blur this out. Alright guys, so what I'll do is I'm gonna do a bit of rendering off camera, and then we'll be back, and we're gonna be covering more on the side of lighting, because right now I've already kind of done a basic lighting, and this is basically gonna be the lighting for this piece. But I kind of want to render it at the same time. If I do, it's gonna take a long time, and I don't know if I mean it's gonna be basically me repeating the same thing. But yeah, I might do a bit of rendering off camera. But first I'm going to apply a bit of blue on the skin to soften it up. Again on the other side. So basically it's gonna be like a nude body, but robot version. I have a specific look in mind, so just adding highlight now, and using a bit of gray to kind of, you know, balance out the look, because it is actually quite a warm tone, so we need a bit of cool tone to balance it out. I might have to like redo the lips a little. It's looking a little chapped. Okay, back to the chest area. Go ahead and do a little design here, and guess what I can do is also maybe like I kind of want to do a bit of trying to figure out what kind of design I can do. Maybe like that. And let's do a little sci-fi. Sci-fi paneling. Going to use a bit of actually highlight here. And I want this part, definitely this part, to be shiny. I want the difference in material to show through. Let me also fix the shape here. So what I'll do is I'm gonna copy this whole boop and kind of make sure it is nice and round. I mean, it's not weirdly shaped. I want it to be nice and smooth shaped. It's going to add a bit more shadow. Same for this side, add a bit more shadow. Oops, there we go. Actually, let's go ahead and make it here. And then I would have to change the shape of it. But I would get to shape it like that. Okay, I might need to make this boot bigger. Just, oh wait, hold on. Copy, paste, and then warp. Just make it a little bigger so that it's even on both sides. Merge down. Contour, I'm just gonna contour this side real quick using the lasso tool and just putting a bit of shadow underneath that armpit, like that. Okay, now for the black fabric or black, I would say I'm aiming to do like a black vinyl-ish look on the side. So this is the type of material I'm aiming for. Shiny, artificial looking material, just like her. Artificial. Shadow, a bit more shadow underneath the cleavage. Here too. And then just kind of softly blend think we should call it a step here. I have not been keeping steps, so this is step 2. Oh, I can put this down here in step 2. Okay. Here. So right now the initial phase, which is this step, this is a pretty, I guess there's a bit of strong lighting and shadow going on here, but it will be the least interesting out of the other two that I wanna show you guys. But yes, I want to make sure that the base is good to go and has enough detail before we start the other two. Using the lasso tool again, just going to darken this area. Actually, it can't be too dark, but I wanted to make it look like there's shadow pretty much. I'm just going to add highlight at the top here, and I totally forgot to do the line for here too. I think we'll make this part shiny, so what I'll do is create another layer, and I'm going to dissolve, and I'm just going to make the elbow like shiny, and same for this part. We're just gonna leave that part matte. Which other part should be shiny? This part. Let's gonna go ahead and make it shiny, like what's it called, vinyl or silicone. And just going to apply a bit of shine on the side, but in gray color. Apply a bit more here, and same for the other area. So always do this after you have a good lighting going on. And I wonder if I should kind of, if I could like do something like this where this whole part is glossy. See if I can achieve that look. Oh wait, yes, it should be up here. Oh, I think it might look weird. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. I'm also going to maybe make just this part glossy and that part matte. So that there's a clear distinction. Like that. And maybe I can kind of add some more intricate little details. Let's do a little triangle here. Some sort of sci-fi look. This one should be a bit higher. Just gonna bring this one up a bit more. I'll probably find some texture for this part too, actually, so that it feels a bit more high-tech. I feel like I could probably get away with adding change the color of it. That way I can go ahead and add the shine with the dissolve. And then same for here, dissolve, have the dissolve on and highlight, especially these areas where it's tricky. Just adding it in some of the areas. I'm gonna add a bit of it here in the circular motion. Nice and shiny. And going to go back to normal mode so that I can kind of go back to this. Work on that. I'm going to apply a bit of shadow here. Ooh, I'm starting to like this. There's just some characters that I just get inspired by, and 2B is one of them. Other characters I have to think about it a bit more, but 2B is just like, the design is so simple yet so flexible. So yeah, I kind of like this, what I have going on here, so I'm just gonna roll with it. So this is what we have. And I'm planning to put her model somewhere here to make it look like a more like a robot. Alright guys, so I'm back and I did do some rendering off camera, not too much. Let me show you guys what I did. So basically I refined the face, and for the body I forgot if I did refine it or not, but I did make like a little barcode for her. So basically this barcode was created, I took a barcode image from Google and I put her model on the barcode to make a little like barcode tattoo, and I decided to put it on her shoulder. I also did a bit of a rendering on some of the skin area, but not too much. So yeah, this is what I did. And I think it's time for us to move on to the next example. And yes, we're gonna be using this as a base to work with, and we're going to kind of just add some shadow, add some highlight, and make it into a totally different shadow. So yeah, let's get started. Let me just add this. So now this is step 1. And for our reference, we're gonna use a different reference, and I'm gonna show you guys which one it is. So this is the reference we will be using. So this is another lighting. And I think that it is gonna look pretty cool if we get this right. So yeah, let's get started. For this, I'm just gonna merge everything together so everything is now one layer. And I'm gonna pay close attention to this right here. So we're gonna go apply darken. It's kind of like multiply. Oh, that's quite dark. It's kind of like multiply, except it only darkens the pixel that is lighter than it. So it will retain everything else except, it will darken everything except the pixel that's already darker than the shade that I pick, unlike multiply that darkens everything. So I think this might be a good start. So as you can see, I am using that as a reference. So first we have to darken most of this area like that, And of course it is not this simple. Let me just experiment and see how, oh gosh, yes. Maybe we can do a mix of the two. So I'm gonna use this, and then I'm gonna duplicate and also use a multiply at the same time. So we're gonna use both of these. Okay, so now what I'll do is start to add highlight. So I'm going to select the highlight that I've got here, and I'm just gonna follow what's going on there. So basically highlight here, and highlight on the nose, as well as on the cheek area. So I'm just going to subtly make sure it's there. And also there's a variety of highlight on the face. So there's a bit here on the lips, on the chin. So we're just gonna go through those and then just add those highlight. And I notice how here it's a little bit brighter. So what I did, just pick up the color right on this reference and I just put it down. There's a bit of highlighting here. And underneath the nose, there is also a highlight. Some highlight on the chin and also around the face. So what I'll do is select that and just kind of use that color down. And also underneath the neck is also a brighter color. As well as in so I will be putting in some, I guess you can call it like a buffer highlight inside the shadow, but you can still see where the highlight is. The highlight is this area in particular. However, there is still gonna be somewhat of a highlight inside the shadow. Here is quite dark, so we're gonna try to reproduce that. There's a very, very dark color here. Don't forget, you have to still make sure to have all the little details there. And on the chest area, oops, it's gonna be that buffer color, or as I usually call it, the highlight inside the shadow. Some buffer, some highlight in the shadow in that area. So this is what we have. I'm just going to, as you can see up here, there's a very strong highlight source on the hair. So what I'll do is really emphasize that on the hair by copy pasting that section of the hair and then make the highlight very intense, just like in the reference. And I will be copy paste, making the eyes a little bit lighter like that, and also have to kind of remove some of that warm tone so her eyes don't look too warm. And then also the lips need to kind of make sure the color isn't too out of too weird. Now I'm going to kind of sculpt out the head shape right here, as well as kind of making sure the hair doesn't blend too much into the skin. So we have to make sure it's slightly lighter, and also applying some buffer shade on this part of the hair. It is not highlight, but it is also not shadow. It's just to kind of make the hair strands stand out pretty much. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead, make the nose highlights a bit brighter, and I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. I'm gonna put it there, just to kind of lighten the face without lightening it too much. A little bit of highlight here, and add a bit of highlight underneath the lips, and then some shadow underneath the chin, as I can see here. A bit of highlight underneath the eye bags, and some other highlight. Or after, I can also play around with the shadow, so it can tend to make it a bit more cool tone instead of warm tone, which I think might work a little better. And I can also make this a bit brighter. At the same time, I'm gonna go ahead and do the highlight on the chest. So we can have a nice highlight, nice contrast. Also, there we go. So like that area, and then make it bright and really make it very obvious where the highlight and shadow is after we created this harsh line. Merge down and start rendering. Pretty much, I'm gonna just take a bit of that and bring it under here. Add a bit of shadow underneath. Okay, now go here. I'm gonna add a bit of shadow there. I'm gonna remove a bit of that. And I'm gonna slowly add a bit of kind of highlight inside here, but applying this highlight towards the bottom area, like the bottom area of there, and a bit of it here too, and then this side too, actually. Make sure it covers the whole silhouette. Bring it all the way down. And since that part is glossy, I'm just going to select those two areas and make it nice and glossy. And I will also do the same for here. So I do know that in the previous version the shoulder was shiny, so I'm gonna try to bring back some of that high shine material. Still sort of shiny. I'm gonna use blue. And I'm going to actually, where is the tattoo? Oh, the tattoos. Okay. Thought the tattoo's still on the separate layer. Oh well. So what I'll do is, actually I think this is a good place to do a step. Just bring this down to the step layer. This is our second step to changing the lighting. As you can see, just by using the reference, it helps me visualize this sort of lighting a lot faster, and it gives me an idea of what I can do with it, and I will be showing that to you guys shortly. So I want to create a very strong backlighting. So I'm going to take a blue, a light blue, and I'm just gonna make a very strong silhouette of it at the back, and just kind of highlighting the hair on the back and keeping the lighting sort of towards the bottom right corner of her hair. Still keeping that shadow underneath the chest, but what I'll do is kind of extend this a bit. Like that. Before, after. There is still sort of a shine, so I'm gonna still have the shine. Keep everything nice and sharp. I'm going to also make sure this part is very much bright. Just go in. Now, for the glossy finishing here, as you can see, it's quite dark now. But I still want to make sure this part still has a fairly good amount of shine. So what I'll do is Control-Shift copy, Control-Shift-V to paste, and then I will go contrast like this. And going to color balance, and I want to make it blue for now, and I'll go to blending, go here, and I will press Alt, hold Alt while I move the little swatch, and that allows me to kind of play around with what will appear pretty much. So it just gives those areas a little bit of shine, but if you merge it down, it's not gonna look that good. So I'm just going to, actually, you know what, it's not too bad. Let's push it down. Okay. Yeah, it's not that bad. So this is the effect it gives me. I have to kind of play around with the head. So what I'll do is I'm gonna select the head, the previous head, and I'm gonna paste it on there, and we're just going to erase bits of it. Still gonna maintain most of this, except we're gonna have brighter, maybe a little bit of it here. I'm just gonna have some of the face that's gonna be slightly brighter, like that. And just like that, I can kind of switch up the lighting a little bit or add a bit of drama to the piece. So yeah, what do you guys think? That's an easy way to test out different lighting if you feel like the lighting you have is not doing it for you. So yeah, this is what a lot of times I do, just go crazy because I don't like what I have, so I play around with the lighting, and definitely having a reference right next to you will help tremendously. Alright guys, so that does it for that. I might do some little edit off camera to make it nice, but this is pretty much a good way to kind of switch it up a bit. And we're gonna go off on our third lighting, and this one's gonna be interesting as well. I also took a pretty good photo for our next variation. I think you guys will like it. Okay, let's do these. So the third one is gonna be a little different, but not really. Well, it's gonna be a little different. Okay. So I also have a reference for the third one, and with the reference it will be a lot easier to work with. So let me just find it for you guys. Alright guys, so this is the third image, third reference that I took. I actually took a bunch, but I think I'm gonna go with this. But I will still include the other ones, and I'm gonna show you guys all the ones that I took, so that in case you ever want to use it as reference. But yeah, this is our third one. As you can see, it's not too different from this, but it does require a bit more painting than what we did for this one. So what I'm gonna do for this actually is kind of want to replicate that background. So I'm gonna go ahead and do like a super shiny rainbow light. Hopefully I can like do something similar to that. Gonna do that first, and then make this a little darker. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is this one now becomes step 1. And we have our reference right here. Good thing we have our layer, so what I can do is pretty much we're gonna have to kind of just darken the whole picture like that. So only a little bit of it is left. So basically we're just going to highlight the silhouette. And the whole head is in shadow, so is the hair more or less. And I have our shadow. What I'll do is kind of just blur it. I'm going to add a bit more shadow. This needs more shadow as well. I'm just going to also follow whatever is here. I'm not gonna take color from here because I took color from there previously and it didn't work out. So yeah, actually yeah. And we're still gonna keep this. Probably not as, actually yeah, just keeping it a little bit. And probably have it all the way down like that. A little bit here. And on the lip too. Definitely where the hair is. So I'm just going to kind of select the hair that is sort of in the back of her head area, that area. And I'm just going to emphasize that. And at the same time, we're going to switch up the lighting for here. And we're going to focus on the lighting near the rim of the character. As well as for the hair, we're gonna focus heavily on the silhouette of the hair, so the outer edges of the hair, unlike the previous versions, as well as the face. So I'm just gonna go ahead, as you can see, following along the reference. And there's a little bit of it on the lips. The lips needs to be also changed up later. And I'm gonna get some highlight, especially contouring the collarbone right here, as well as the shoulder. Probably a little bit of it here too, not too much though. And here, contouring the chest. Actually, just look. The chest. And I have a good feeling that also contour this side as well, even though we don't really see it. I'm gonna also contour this area. And then there's a little bit of highlight here. As you can see on the reference, that is what it is. Yes, so this is what we have. And what I'll do now is Control-Shift-C, which is copy, merge, everything together, merged. And then Control-Shift-V to paste in place, merge down to, constrain it down, press Alt and click, constrain that down, adjustments, and we're gonna go and make it nice and intense with that. Okay, so that's what we have. And so we have this layer, but we're gonna be turning it down a lot. And we're also going to play around with the color for this. So we're gonna be adding a little bit of blue, actually, yes, or yellow. I think blue or red. Let's add a bit of blue, make it a little bit bright like that. Lower it down a bit more and delete this right here because it's too, actually I'm just gonna delete all of it, remove all of it except keep the arm. So this is what we have. I have to work on that a bit. But for now, what I'll do is again copy paste these areas real quick, paste it down, and then what I'll do is adjustment color brightness. We're going to make it really, really orange, and then do that again. Actually, should I try the other way around? Ooh. So what I did was do the other way around. That's what it did for me. Okay, that's kind of interesting actually. And then for the face, this is going to include a bit of that face. I'm going to put this all the way down there so that this layer is the one on top. So that was a lot of editing. But yes, now it's time to paint the highlight and trying to make sure that it is sort of following the reference more or less. So we're going to subtly blend this in. I'm going to add a bit of gray light. Extend this up and add a bit of intense lighting on the eyes on that side and a light source on the bottom, I guess. And make the lips a little bit redder down here. Add a bit of highlight on the bottom of the lip. Might be a bit too bright, so I'm going to tone that down. And bottom of the lip highlight. And just blend these highlight together. Just soften the chin up. And then I'm just going to use the lasso tool to help me isolate this area so I can really sharp blend that area. Forehead is shadowed, and then redo the hair a bit. Bit of shadow underneath the chin with just a tiny bit of highlight. I'm going to remove the highlight. Erase a bit of the shadow here and there. Just kind of looking back and forth to see if it looks better or not. The hair is pretty much as it is. No, this part needs to be very soft, so I'm gonna try my best to make it nice and soft. I'm going to also make sure the hairband has its own definition. And back to the shoulder. So this part is supposed to be in shadow with a very strong rim light. It has to be also smooth, so it's gonna be a combination of airbrush and solid round brush. Okay, so these areas needs to be, I feel like, done separately. So what I'll do is I'm going to select this area, knowing that it's a different type of fabric. And I'm just going to do the same trick here. Oh god, I guess it doesn't work. What I have to do is render this a little differently because it is a different type of material. So going to dissolve, I'm just gonna do dissolve, and gonna make sure that I have everything that is that type of material, render them the same way. Oh, there we go. And back to the skin tone. So with the skin tone, very softly fade this in. Actually, this part is also a separate material that is more, actually I should probably kind of make sure this is a separate color. So copy paste. It is a little bit cooler tone, and also this part, I'm gonna just select that area that I'm gonna render. I'm gonna use this color right here, the blue color. That part I'm gonna just stick with the normal brush. And as for the skin tone, actually what I have to do is make this a little darker so it's more of a contrast. I'm gonna select this part right here, and then I'm gonna go into this color. Same for the chest. See, look back here and see how they do it. So it does seem to have a little bit of a cooler tone, at least kind of on the side here. So I will do that as well. Let's look at here. Yes, the cooler tone for the inside chest is actually towards this side. Probably should do that on a separate layer. Okay, I'm gonna do it on a separate layer. So, cooler tone will be on this side, and deeper, darker color is towards the bottom. And last but not least, the highlight is on the side there. Like that. So kind of keeping up with the reference here. So for this part, it's pretty much just a bit of that cooler tone on the side. I'm going to actually contour the body with a very intense highlight. That way it stands out. I'll contour here a bit and around the hair. select this or this, I will kind of put that highlight color onto the rib cage like this. And I have to bring back some of those details. Also, that. And I'm going to select a lighter color. Drop down the bottom here, and then darker color next thing that needs to be done is this. This needs to be changed up. Copy, paste. Going to hue saturation to that color, remove the warm tone of it, and then extend that highlight color palette downward. And also going to go ahead and do that for here, and just in general making those areas a bit shinier. Oh yes, the lips need. Just gonna try to work on the face a bit. I'm not really liking the face. Okay, I need to make this part a bit darker. A bit more work, but that's pretty much what it is. Let me just do a step before we proceed. As you can see, it's almost the same, just a little bit different. Alright guys, so I did some simple, well not simple, I did a little bit of work off camera, so this is what I did, just a bit of putting the highlight on the bottom instead of on the top, and also added a little bit of highlight around the neck just to contour it nicely. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh yes, on the nose as well, so that's what I did. I have to actually, before I do anything, darken that. So yeah, this is what we have. I'm going to merge everything together. And now comes the fun part. I'm going to duplicate, really intensify it. Maybe change the color a little to green. I mean to blue. This once again, so that we can get that, really get that sharp highlight contrast. I'm going to kind of remove bits of it that I think might be a bit too much, but otherwise I will be keeping most of it. Merge that down, create another layer. Now I'm gonna go ahead, do soft light. Hold on, soft light. And then I'm going to just kind of soft light it up in some of these areas. Remove that. I'm going to soft light the nose a bit under the eyebrows, a bit here, for sure on the hair. So I have change of color slightly. Lower that opacity down. Highlight on the robot arms. Just to have a bit of that texture still. Just need to remove that. Remove a bit of that, make it nice and subtle. Merge down, and there we have it. But yes, this is the third third lighting example, and you can achieve a lot of different lighting if you feel like what you're doing is not really, you're not feeling it. Always experiment, but always, well, I guess not always, but if you're having trouble, definitely always use reference. And I know not everybody have a doll to play with. Funny thing is, this was the doll. I placed it underneath my makeup mirror and I light it up and it creates this really nice lighting. And this is the type of lighting that I like to play around with because I just feel like it's a good contrast and it's interesting. So yeah, I guess if you aren't able to get a hold of a doll, you can always use yourself for reference. It doesn't, if you're a guy, you can take a photo. What's important is the lighting. So even if you're a guy, you can still apply the lighting of the face onto a female character, or vice versa. If you're female, you can do that for your male character, take a picture of yourself, stuff like that. So yeah, this was actually a pretty fun tutorial. I mean, pretty fun experiment for me as well. And actually, I had originally played around with the outfit a bit, which I thought kind of was fun. Like, I made this part like white or black. I thought it was pretty fun, so I might do a few little variations just to have fun. And also I experimented with stuff like this as well, as you can see. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can experiment with, and you will be able to learn a lot by experimenting too, even if just experimenting effects like what I'm doing right now. I'm just like playing around with that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this voiceover tutorial. Remember to, oh yeah, I forgot to show you guys the different references that I'm going to be including for this. Just want to show you guys what they all look like. So there's going to be 15 reference pictures that I took. Some of them were, this one was quite nice actually. I really like this one. Yeah, I know the mirror is dirty, sorry. But yes, it was a really nice lighting. So yeah, I will include these all. Sorry it's a little blurry, but the whole point was just to get the lighting. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that voiceover tutorial. I will see you guys in the next one. If you have any suggestions, let me know. This was actually from suggestions. Someone wanted, well, actually I had multiple requests for something similar to a new lighting tutorial, so maybe this is it. I will also be including 2 additional lighting related tutorial. 2 of them are not voiceover, it's just video, it's very old, and one of them is voiceover, and it's sort of similar to this, except it's more of an anime style. So yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys have a great day, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Bye guys.